a world where anyone can have a podcast, Peter Von Panda is one of them. Rants are taken to a whole new level. This is the Peter Von Panda Podcast, a giant waste of time.
What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda back here on the worst podcast on the internet. Hey, I just wanted to come out and go ahead and do a little rant today, and it's basically I hate the Jaguar I-PACE electric vehicle. I know that's going to go against the grain for a lot of peeps here, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit why. Let's back it up. Back that thing up, and let's talk a little bit about Tesla and why I hate the Teslas. Everyone hates the way I say Tesla. I guess I stress it like a Z. It's supposed to be Tesla. Nikolai Tesla. Anyway, but that's how I say it, and I never really catch myself in time before it flows out of my mouth. The Z flows out before I think making an S. So anyway, Tesla, I've never really liked them. I mean, it's kind of a situation where I was like ambivalent about the cars, and I didn't really like the company. I just didn't think it was that well run, and electric cars aren't new, but I really did like the fact that Tesla was pioneering in the fact that they were making a mainstream, getting them out there. They were hitting a very high price point. I don't know that they were making money. I would credit Tesla with also spurring some of this electric car generation now, particularly the Fisker EV or the extended range EV, the Karma at the time, which I really, really liked. And there's an interesting connection there with Heinrich Fisker between the two, having designed the Model S for Tesla as well. And so part of that was just kind of getting that ball rolling. And so I do credit Tesla for doing that. But I never really liked the look of the car. In fact, I really feel like Heinrich Fisker, whose designs I really like, even though they are all very similar, kind of that really dramatic long hood, low slung, high haunch kind of design, whether it was the BMW Z8, which I really liked, or the Aston Martin, which he penned as well. And obviously the Fisker Karma, which still looks like a really nice modern car, really great proportions. Inside the cabin, maybe not as much, but he also penned the Model S, and that actually created some legal drama between Tesla and Fisker when he was coming out with the Karma, but all resolved. But I really felt like he phoned it in on the Model S if he was responsible for that car, because that car never really spoke to me in any particular way. In fact, it was funny when a lot of people were like, oh, it's so beautiful. And I was thinking, even the LEDs around the headlights are only like 2/3 full, right? There's like a whole side that they don't have, which I get now, putting just a line kind of on the lower, the upper portion of the headlights in LEDs is kind of the rage now, but it never looked all that finished. There were never really any like subtle contours to anything. So on the exterior alone, I just thought it was fairly pedestrian. In fact, to me, it looked a lot like the Mazda Model 6 and not even as good. So the Model 6 had a little chrome treatment. It kind of had some detail and nuance that the Tesla just kind of glossed all the way over. Now, I will say, did I like it better than the Chevy Volt? The Volt at the time, the hybrid electric, the plug-in hybrid. Yeah, probably. The Volt missed a big opportunity from the concept, which was really nice looking, to what they actually rolled out, which was very pedestrian in that it was basically a GM version of the Prius. And I get you're trying to balance aerodynamics and all that stuff, but I really think electric car companies would be better off making that sacrifice and going a little bit more towards the mainstream and putting in beautiful design. And I still think you can still make it aerodynamic, but just going for that Toyota Prius chopped off back end, really slow slung front end to kind of make an aerodynamic wedge, just for me, it doesn't do it. The Leaf was the most egregious of them all. That car looked hideous. I'm not saying the Tesla looked hideous. I'm not saying the Bolt looked hideous to me. The Leaf looked hideous. I'm surprised that car was out and sold. I've seen a few on the road. I thought on all the check boxes, it did pretty poorly. So anyway, we're getting to the Jaguar issue here. So anyway, the Tesla Model S, I never really liked it, especially in the interior where they did that big like 17-inch touchscreen. It just looks like such an afterthought. I know people are gaga over it, and good on Tesla for doing something that was totally different and making it all software and really relying on the technology, I guess. But I didn't think it looked like a finished product at all. And when I saw one at the auto show, I was like, oh my God, it looks like something that was slapped together in a college project. But Listen, I get that it had all these other things and was supposed to be a pretty refined package, but I would have taken a Mazda 6 over it in so many ways. So to me, the funny thing is when there was this opportunity for high end, high kind of price point, luxury or near luxury brand electric vehicles, Jaguar saying, hey, we've got an electric vehicle. I think was in a perfect position to capitalize on that. They've got kind of their reputation, the credibility. They have a wonderful design language right now. It's starting to look a little dated to me, but it still works really, really well. And I think the execution of it, even when the refreshes like the Jaguar XR, the sedan, the sporty sedan version they have, still looks good. A little dated, a little long in the tooth on the design, but I think that still looks pretty nice. But to me, with the F-Pace and the F-Type and those cars, and even the E-Pace, that all look pretty good, kind of using that Jaguar design language. I thought, man, if they're going to come out with an electric car, it's going to look that good as well. And they came out with this kind of hatchback looking thing. And it really looked like, to me, a gussied up kind of a Jaguar version of the Chevy Bolt, a car design, a hatchback design that I never really liked. And so, if you take everything front of that front axle, I think that looks fine. If I cover up the 3/4 of the car and look at that Jaguar front end, I'm thinking like that looks fine. And actually up to the A-pillar, it probably looks fine. But it was kind of narrow, and I get that you don't want a big frontal area for aerodynamic reasons, but it really lets you down after kind of that B-pillar. And it just kind of goes to that same old wedge-shaped super aero design, and I didn't like it. And in fact, I don't even think that was an improvement over the Teslas. Now, again, if you go to the inside of the car, I think the Jaguar inside is much more modern, looks much more well executed. It looks more traditional automotive in a good way, right? Not just throwing wood around. It looks modern and futuristic and usable, and doesn't try to rely on gimmicks like big screens or anything like that. So I thought that was a miss. The exterior design was a miss to me for whatever reason they did that. In fact, I thought they would have been better off taking the Jaguar E-Pace, the small SUV, and just electrifying that, because I thought that car is a winner. Now, the other funny thing to me on that is the naming convention. The I-PACE is the electric car and the E-PACE is the SUV. To me, knowing that the I-PACE was in development, they should have reserved that so you get E-PACE applied to the electric car, E for electricity. I, like on iPhone or iPad or iPod, meant like internet. So that doesn't make any sense to me that it's like the Jaguar Internet Pace. It should have been the electric pace, right? And even professionals, certainly laymen like me, get it wrong all the time. They see, ooh, E-Pace, that must be the electric car, and it looks so good, but it's not. And in fact, I feel like the I-PACE has gotten really warmly received by the automotive community, especially the kind of the professional reviewer community, and people really like it. But I haven't seen a single one on the road, and I don't know that these cars are supposed to be high volume, but for $69,000 or $70,000, they're supposed to be affordable, competitive with the Tesla. But I've seen lots of Tesla 3s and S's on the road, and I have not seen a single Jaguar I-PACE. Now, that may be part of the problem. If I see it on the road in person and kind of see it more often, I might kind of start to like it. But when I saw them at the shows and see them in the pictures, they just didn't do it for me. So what a big miss. Now, let's fast forward here. I think, like I said, Tesla and all these other cars, and seeing the demand around, or some of the initial demand around the Chevy Bolt, I hear that's actually kind of suffering and hurting a little bit too. I do think there are a number of electric cars that are doing it the right way and coming out now. They're going to come with crazy prices though. So the Porsche Taycan, let's call it the Taycan, even though it looks like it's spelled Taycan, looks gorgeous. That is the modern Fisker Karma to me. The fenders and the quarter panels just really hug the wheels. It's got a really low planted wide look. It's got a great stance. It doesn't have this kind of crazy hatchback. It's kind of more sedan shaped and really looks like a lead sled like the Karma originally did. So I think they nailed it. And it just uses the Porsche design language in a perfect way. They've applied it to a T to the electric car. And you don't say, hey, this is an electric car. You say, this is just a beautiful car. And the fact that it's electric is awesome too. Also, the Audi e-tron, you probably saw the commercials that were in the Super Bowl. They did a lot of kind of initial video releases, short test drives of the prototype. I think that car looks amazing. It probably doesn't look totally different than the Audi A7s, but it also has bigger haunches. It just looks a little more planted. And, I don't know what the drag coefficient on any of those are, but they certainly seem to me to be pretty efficient. And, to be honest, if you design a car that looks as good as those do versus a car that looks kind of like the Jaguar I-PACE, and you say, hey, we've done all the same technology, and the I-PACE gets 300 miles to the charge, but making these design compromises means we only get 220 miles to a charge on the Taycan or the Audi e-tron. Dude, I would take that all day long, right? Now, if it's half, maybe you start sweating that a little bit, but if it's even remotely, 60, 70, 80 mile difference, I would make that trade-off for the absolutely stunning looks of the Audi and the Porsche. So that's what I wanted to say. I don't like the look of the Teslas. I think the Model S looks ugly. I think the Model X looks ugly. I think the Model 3 is the worst of them with that pig nose and that hatchback look. That's just ridiculous. And then the Roadster that they showed, or the Coupe and Roadster, really high performance, looks totally like innocuous to me. It's not ugly. I'm not saying it's ugly, but it just doesn't look like a high-end sports car. You put that up against any of the other high-end sports cars, the Jaguar from Koenigsegg, or even the new electric supercars. It just is so bland looking. That's what's crazy to me about it. So anyway, listen, I think Tesla is in a tough place right now. I know in financial terms, they've kind of been struggling. They've made a lot of news last year, and the tax credits are running out for them and whatnot. But to be honest, that first mover advantage is getting much, much smaller, and I think they need to step up the game. I think they will, and I'm sure that they're planning on doing that. But I will tell you what, the Taycan and the e-tron right now, I think, are getting people excited about electric cars, getting people to save their pennies. And, if you had to stretch and scrimp and save to get into one of those over what's currently available, I think people would do it. So I think those are some winners out there. And the outlook for electric cars is bright, my friends. I cannot wait till the prices come down to the point where I can afford them. They're about here right now, and regular cars are right about here. And I need electric cars to be right about here. So they're at a 10. My budget's at a 1. So we'll see. Once they can chop off 90% of that, the price, and get some of the cost, and maybe start flooding the market with some used electric cars, I will hopefully maybe add one and enjoy it. Renting that Kia Soul electric car this summer was awesome. I really liked it. Limited range, not particularly interesting to look at, but you see the future like that, and you experience it, and you say, hey, this is so much better. No filling up gas, no noxious fumes, no big noises. You can charge it at home. You can use it when you want. You can charge it up anywhere. It just is really, really convenient. So I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Don't like the Jaguar EV. Don't like Teslas. Deal with it. Anyway, stay tuned. We've got more episodes of the Peter Von Panda podcast, the worst podcast on the internet, coming up. Out!
This is the Peter Von Panda podcast. A giant waste of time.